I mean, the war hero effort of it, but no matter what, whether you were in one mission that wasn't important or whether you were in several missions, the fact that you are a veteran, the fact that you are a war hero, you are a hero in anybody's eyes. And, it really took to heart for me because I have a lot of friends that are veterans, and it doesn't matter the branch or the department you're in. The fact is, you are serving your country, and Skipper served his country.
Right. I agree. He's a veteran. He deserves all the respect that gains. However, they pay to us that he shot down 50 enemies.
Right.
And Dusty asked him, "Did you really shoot down 51?" He goes, "Well, you do want to be 50?" He goes, "Do you want to be 51?"
Right.
And at first he's just like keeps slamming the door on him. And again, why? One reason is he's grounded himself since the day that mission went bad, which we'll get into when we get to that part of the movie. And on Car's end, Doc Hudson does it because they grounded him when he had his accident. Mm-hmm. So the motivations are very different, but apparently Disney's trying to tell us that when we get old, we must hate kids. Maybe not kids, but teenagers and 20-year-olds.
I'm waiting for the day where I sit on my porch to yell, "Get off my lawn." That's basically.
Yeah, well, you know what? From what I understand, only the good die young. So if you do that long enough, you'll live forever. So that's my plan on how to live forever. I'm just going to start tomorrow. I'm going to go stand outside. I'll sit there with a beer or something and just keep yelling at kids. Everyone that walks by, "Get off my lawn! We're not on your lawn. Get off the front of my house!" But,
take that newspaper and okay, never mind. We're gonna go.
Exactly. So anyway.
Oh boy. We are off the rails.
We are, but it's all right. We've been worse.
Yes.
So but we find out about the history. He's a Jolly Roger. He makes Dusty an honorary Jolly Roger, and he gives him the piston and crossbones to wear, and that comes into play later, which is awesome. It's the Chekhov's Jolly Roger. But what do you think about that? He shows up to this time trials, right, to get into the world race, and they just make fun of him. Like all of them treat him like trash.
There's the old saying, you never judge a book by the cover. And although Dusty is just a plain old crop duster, and we'll talk about it later in the film, he goes through changes, but it's, never judge a book by its cover, but never disrespect someone that wants to try when you don't know the person. That's basically what that is.
And I think we can go a step farther and just never disrespect someone who hasn't disrespected you, but...
Yes, that's true,
too. But you're right. Don't just assume he can't do it.
Right.
And I missed the part where Skipper does agree to train him, and he tells him about the jet stream. I'm bringing it back up because it's important. He tells him about the jet stream, and that's when we find out that Dusty's afraid of heights. No. He's a plane who's afraid of heights. This is ridiculous. But I get it.
But it's such an average Joe. They play the average Joe so well in this movie. Afraid of heights, wants nothing but the best for themselves. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic.
He has average speed, average height, average size. There's a great if you're a wrestling fan, you'll happen to listen to this too. It would be weird if you're understanding any of my references because we're talking Disney, Star Trek, and wrestling at this point. But anyway, if you are, there's an amazing promo, and I call it a promo, but it's not really fair. When Arn Anderson retired from the business, when he knew he couldn't do it any longer, he quote-unquote cut a promo, which was going to put Kurt Hennig, which was, if you remember the WWF, Mr. Perfect, into the Four Horsemen. But he starts off with saying, everyone here knows I'm of average height, average size, average speed, but I parlayed that into a great career. This is Dusty, the everyday man, who eventually, through perseverance and sheer will of heart, or heart of will of heart, whatever, pushes through and becomes more than people assumed he could be. Now, I've heard people put it more than he should have been. I don't agree with that statement. It's just more than people believed he could be.
I believe
because he should be whatever he can work towards.
Listen, you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. A great man by the name of George McFly once said that. And
I like it.
But the thing is that, the whole mantra of this whole thing is don't underestimate the next person. Don't disrespect anybody if they haven't disrespected you. And go for the brass ring, which is what Dusty always wanted. There was nothing stopping him.
No.
Skipper training him was a bonus. But there was nothing stopping Dusty from getting into these races to getting into the final race.
His heart and determination is what turned Skipper to help him in the first place.
Absolutely.
And he started by backhand complimenting him a little bit, and or actually the exact opposite of backhand complimenting. He was trying to insult him into tips. Like, he didn't want to just flat out give him the tips. He kind of wanted to insult him.
Right.
Even though he was giving him tips, and he realized, let me just train him, And so we get to the race, and he comes in sixth, which another plane comes up to him and says, that's a great run. Like, you have nothing to be ashamed of. But, of course, he's disappointed because all he wanted to do was be in the race. But we find out right after that this little forklift that looks like it belongs in cars shows up, and they're like, he asks Chug if he knows who Strut Jetstream is, and he's like, nope. Oh, wait. Nope. And that's when we get the line. I think you're mispronouncing it. It's Dusty Crophopper.
Yes.
But we find out that Fonzarelli, who was the Fonz as a plane, was juicing, for lack of a better term. He was using an illegal performance-enhancing substance, so he was juicing. He was juicing. I don't want to get sued by that guy.
He was injecting between the fuel lines. That's exactly what
he was
doing.
No, between the ailerons.
Yeah.
Or in the hubcap.
Or in the hubcap, places where it couldn't be where it couldn't be detected, but yet there was.
So he's disqualified, which means sixth place drops to fifth place, and now Dusty's in the race. Mm-hmm. And again, we have this bullying mentality when he shows up.
Yeah.
He shows up to the race, which is in JFK. Awesome. My grandfather, by the way, did all the power for all the gates that go out to the planes.
Really?
Back in the 80s, I would assume, because my uncle was there, so it had to be the 80s, I would guess. My uncle and him did all the power for all those gates. I mean, there's been ones added since then or whatever and taken out, but for every airplane that would fly in and use one of the automatic, or not the automatic, but the powered gates to get out to the planes, my grandfather was the general foreman and my uncle worked on just about all of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just a side note.
I flew out of JFK once.
Did you?
I flew out of JFK once. That's my claim to fame for it.
Yeah, me too. Because LaGuardia is just easier. But if you were going to have a big international race, it would definitely be out of JFK anyway.
Absolutely.
And what a great scene, because he flies in and he lands. He's like, "Oh, these are such nice roads," and the big plane's they're like, "Just get off the runway."
I love how the air traffic controller sounded like John F. Kennedy. You would think it would actually be the Boston airport, but it was actually John F. Kennedy that was lighting him in.
Yep, it was pretty cool. But this is when we see all of this bullying going on. They're all treating him not all, I shouldn't say all, I'm lying. But when he first shows up, they're treating him pretty bad. And then he runs into El Chupacabra. And because he's kind of an outcast that they're kind of bullying, right? Because he's the Mexican indoor racing champion, which, how big are the buildings in Mexico where they're racing? Because he's the same size as every other plane.
Is that an oxymoron? Because I kept thinking that the whole time I'm watching this thing. I'm like, the indoor racing, never heard of it. But okay, we'll go with it.
Yeah, well, fine, whatever. Sounds good. And then, you would think it was a model plane. But,
yeah.
So we have him. So they kind of pair up as friends because they don't have anyone else. and they're both brand new. And El Chupacabra is an awesome character. And then it seems like in the beginning, Ashani,
Yes, Ashani, yeah.
is going to be their friend as well, and Rochelle. And so that seems to be the way it's working. And we find out that he goes up to Bulldog, and he tells him, because remember, Dusty's a fan. He didn't get into racing because he's a racer. He gets into it because he's such a big fan of racing. He wants to live that life. And he asked him about something. And Bulldog, who's the UK, the British plane, basically tells him, go away. I'm not telling you anything. It's every man for themselves, and I'm not helping you. Which, again, plays big later.
But what a great line that he said. Would you like me to tell you how I did it? Would you like me to divulge my secrets? Yes. No.
Yeah, it was funny. It was definitely funny.
It was a great line, but delivered in such John Cleese fashion. I mean,
yes.
That's
it was
what
done
made
very,
the line
very well.
so great. It's, you talk about El Chupacabra and Dusty, it's the typical outcast becoming friends because they have something in common, because they're outcast, and they're best buds through like every Best Bud movie that you see. They become best friends,
right?
Because
so now,
they're outcast themselves.
They show you exactly, and they show you the announcing of this in a bar, and they're like, "It's the first crop duster to ever be in the world race." And someone in the bar goes, "A crop duster," and the woman goes, "He's gonna die." And that's like a main theme here, actually. That like Rip. So the bad guy in the movie is Rip Slipstream.
Rip Slinger.
Rip Slinger, right? Yeah. And his buddies Ned and Zed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one everybody loves. So he's like the in
he's
Cars. You had the one bad car that was like on his way out,
right?
Not the Dynaco car, the other one, but he was like your old school NASCAR racer. Like he was a Southern boy with the Southern boy mustache and all that.
Yeah, I can't.
So that's
think
what
of the name.
Rip is, but Rip's not the Southern boy. He's just the bad guy. And his two buddies, Ned and Zed, and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be a great story. You run off the runway and crash and burn, and I dedicate my win to you because it'll be." And farm boy, and he really talks down to him, and he basically what Rip's deal is he's going for his 4th win ever, or in a row, and this would be the first time ever someone does 4 championships in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
But I really felt bad for Dusty at that point because there are some things I'm a fan of. There are some people that I admire, and here's Dusty, like you said, he's this fan, but first before a racer, second, and Rip is somebody he looked up to. Rip takes his career and what he does to a higher level and looks down upon his fans when he shouldn't. And that's something that, that really irked me about it. But again, it gives Dusty another mindset and probably even more will to want to join the race, not only to fly alongside him, but to beat him in the end.
Right, now, and he does. Throughout the movie, you find out that that's his main objective is not to win anymore, it's to beat Rip. Which I get, that means winning, but that's not the point. So, but they say never meet your idols, and this is the reason why. And not all idols are bad people, but there's enough of them that turn out to be just bad people. As this movie goes on, we find out that they get certain level, they get so far away, and Dusty never flies up. He always flies low. So in the first leg, he's like really far behind. Because earlier in the movie, they said we can do 2 things to make you faster. We can make you more aerodynamic, or we can give you performance boosts. He didn't want to cut off his sprayers because he still wanted to be himself. You know what I mean? He wasn't a racing plane yet. He was still a crop duster. And so he's in last, and they tell him, just cut it off. His only fan, who's got split personality disorder, when he's a car, he's this scared little guy, and when he puts the wings on, he's like this rough German. Like, it's really weird, but whatever. he basically tells him to cut him off, and he does this time. He does, and he's